There you have it. It's Fight Night on talkSPORT. Our next guest doesn't really need much of an introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway. He is, of course, the WBO cruiserweight champion of the world, one of our favourites, the one and only Mr. Lawrence Okolie. Welcome back, mate. How are you?
Yes. It's good to be here. Good introduction. Love it.
Listen, we've missed you, mate. You know what I mean? We haven't said your name on the show for a bit. Obviously, we've not seen you in action for over a year. It must have been an incredibly frustrating time because I know that you like to be active. You like to be out there doing your thing.
Yeah, no, of course, but the most important thing is that I'm happy to hear you say my name now, and hopefully you're going to be saying it a lot more in the coming months and years. So, I'm looking forward to it.
Obviously, we've got a fight scheduled for March. We'll talk about that with your mandatory challenger in a moment or two, and we'll talk about the prospect of big unifications. First and foremost, trainer-wise, obviously now we've stepped away from Shane McGuigan, and we've had it announced that you're teaming up with Sugar Hill Stewart. Talk to me about that. Talk to me about obviously stepping away from Shane, the reasons for that, and why you're going in the direction of working with Sugar Hill.
I think in terms of Shane, it was more so logistically. It just didn't make sense. There was a lot of personal stuff going on in England that it was starting to become a bit draining, a bit too toxic in terms of the situation. And like I said, he's still a great coach. We've done a lot of great work together and gone on to, go European and world title and some defences. But I'm always in the mood as well to just freshen stuff up, try new things. As we've seen throughout my career, I've moved coaches. I've moved around. I like to spar internationals, spar internationally. So it's just continuing more of the same. I was on a Great Britain team where we went all over the world in that period of time. So it's just that same kind of energy that I'm taking forwards. And then in terms of Sugar, obviously I just think, obviously I looked around, spoke to a lot of coaches, trained with a lot. Remember, I've been out of the ring for like a year. So I've been going around for like the whole year, really trying different coaches out. I won't mention, but once I got to Sugar, I think the reality is he's a great teacher from what I'm realizing, and he allows me to be humble, if that makes sense. So I want to be able to listen and look at a coach and believe what he's saying and kind of like understand he's got the experience, he's unqualified the experience, and stylistically, his sort of style works with my attributes. The Crunch Gym typically, the best fighters that they've had are tall, long, lanky kind of fighters, and that's the kind of attributes that I have. And he wants to see it used in a particular way, and I agree with it. So yeah, it's good.
Well, tall, long, lanky Lawrence Okolie, it's great to have you on the show. I completely agree. I think what you learned under Shane McGuigan, the patience and the jab, and obviously we know you've got that vicious right hand that is an equaliser and puts people to sleep. What I've got to ask you is, and I do think it's a great matchup for you with Sugar Hill Stewart. Obviously, you're out in action on March the 11th against David Light, defending your WBO cruiserweight title. What did you make of the call out by Richard Riakporhe for you the other day? Do you reckon you fight him next after that, or do you think it's better for you both to get world titles first?
I really won a world title. I just didn't really believe it. It was. I just find it so weird. I don't know if people are waiting for me to have a bad performance or whatever else, but these guys are all getting to their mid-30s and they need to sort of crack on sooner rather than later. So I do struggle to understand why, as a world champion and the one that's actually doing the most, done the most, makes the most, why I'll be out there forcing these guys to fight. I've made it very clear that I'm available to fight anyone that really is actually up for it once I've dealt with my mandatory, and we'll see.
But do you think look? You're now with Boxer and Sky in terms of being on that platform. You know that Richard Riakporhe's part of the stable, if you like, as well. He's ranked 2 with the IBF, Lawrence. And I don't want to make this about him, but does it build for a bigger fight if he can, say, beat a Jai Opatea, or do you want to get that on with him next? Do you want to sell out the O2 Arena in late summer and get it on? A bit of Riakporhe against a bit of Okolie, 2 long, powerful, lanky fighters, as you say.
Yeah, no, 100%. I just think of course it's bigger if, But we're living in a sport and a world where anything can happen any day. So it's like, of course, I expect to beat my mandatory. We don't know. Riakporhe might believe he can beat anyone, so he wants to win a world title, and then we unify. I don't know, but the reality is, a lot of times we see a lot of great fights slip into nothing because people don't take it when it's there, ready and available. I mean, throughout my career, you know, I've had a few fighters that have said my name and tried to wait, and I'm not interested in that. I had a early rivalry with a guy called Isaac Chamberlain. You know, he called me out and we went straight for it. Same with Matty Askin, same with Luke Watkins, same with actually the European champion, Eves. So it's just, I'm not really one of those guys that likes people to just say my name and let it fester for ages and, maybe we get or maybe we don't. I just, you know what, let's just do it. And as you said, me and Riakporhe, that's an 0-2 fight. But there's a bunch, if none of the champions want to fight, we'll do it.
It's music to Adam's ears, because we were talking about it earlier on the show, Lawrence, that we want to see people leapfrog over kind of, I don't mean tune-up fights, because you're not in that frame to have tune-up fights, but to you saying that you want to fight these guys, you want to make the biggest fights, Adam. It's what we want to hear, Adam, isn't it?
I want to see unifications, you know, and I think Lawrence has always maintained that conversation. So, and that's where I wanted to go with you next, Lawrence, because obviously we know that you've come away from Matchroom. I don't want to dwell on that too much because I know that there's certain things going on behind the scenes on that. But I'm sure you would have had options. Why have you gone with Boxer? Why have you gone with Sky? What conversation did you have there? Have you had those conversations about go and get me the big unifications?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact is, Sky and Boxer are you know, a British sort of company built around building British fighters and British fight nights. All we have to do is look at their track record for the small time they've been around. Kell Brook Khan, the all-female show that, you know, sold out the O2, you know, like the one they had recently in Chris Eubank Jr. versus Liam Smith. It's just constantly they're interested in all British domestic dust-ups. They have a great roster of cruiserweights, as we've seen. They've probably got the best set of cruiserweights in the world on their roster. So those things were attracting me. And also I made it very clear from the start what my intentions are. My intentions are to unify the division as many times as I can and aim to be undisputed, but it really depends on what the other champions are saying. Every time it seems like it could happen, something gets in the way. And if that's not possible, then let's just have some big fights. You know, someone like Richard is a dangerous fight for anyone, you know. And I don't see many people calling them out. I know Chris Billam Smith is as well, but not many people say that they will fight people like that, you know. So I just think I've got to the stage in my career, and like, you know, I'm not old. I'm like, you know, prime years now. So in my prime years, I have to, you know, see how far I can really take it.
How long are you for this weight? Because you're a big boy, and I've no doubt that maybe you've had a look at heavyweight as well at some point. Is that something that is going to happen soon, or is it a little bit further down the line?
Ask me on the weigh-in day of the next fight. I'll answer that question a bit more honestly. Right now, I'm enjoying, I'm training hard, everything's going well. We'll see on weigh-in day how well I make the weight. The moment I think it's too much of a struggle and training becomes too much about that, you know, that's when it's time to move up. I think there's a lot that I can do. I can really dominate this weight class, given the opportunity to. In terms of heavyweight, like I spar heavyweights all the time. Sparring is different from fighting, but there's no heavyweight that you could ask that's been in the ring with me that would say, "Oh yeah, Lawrence, let's let him come up. That's an easy fight." So they all know, you know, a lot of attributes that they have over other cruiserweights they can't have over me. So they're going to be bigger, but they're not going to necessarily be that much physically stronger or punch that much harder. Especially once, like, I lose power going down to the cruiserweight. If that makes sense. Like, so I never aim to knock people out in the gym, but I know when I'm walking around at my walking around weight that I won't say, I know what it's like in the gym with these big boys. And, you know, it's very different from when I have to come down to the 200-pound limit and then I only have, you know, 36 hours to put some weight back on. I'm still powerful, as we can see, but there's levels to the whole training camp being fueled and ready. So, you know, as soon as I think that opportunities are there at heavyweight, I'm going to go for them. And I think I'll shock a lot of people with the type of fights that I dive straight into when I move up. Like, I don't think I'm going to do too much you know, prancing around. I'm gonna really just go in and say like, yeah, let's have it.
Can I say a final thing? I'm looking forward to seeing you fight at about 225 pounds as well, Lawrence. You and I have spoken quite a lot in the background over the last year. I just want to ask a question. I know Adam said it's complex in the background, but what I'd like you to give us on air, the fact you've taken canonical ownership with your brother, not with your brother, taking canonical ownership of your own career, and that's mattered to you a lot because you felt like you might have been pushed around a bit in the wrong way by your old promoter. I'm going to name him Eddie Hearn because you had a very difficult time. You told me you haven't been bullied since you were a kid and you felt bullied in the last year. And I think I'd love you to go on record and say that without going into the personal stuff, but you felt bullied and getting out of it has allowed you to get canonical ownership of your career. We've been talking a lot tonight. I know we're about to go to break, but we've been talking about how we care about boxers, care when they're growing, care during their career, and we need aftercare. As we're talking about Kell Brook this week, it won't have been lost on you what happened with Kell Brook. But the fact you are a different man now from taking control of your career, aren't you?
No, 100%, and I completely agree with that. And it's what, you know, obviously you and me have had loads of conversations off camera and off the record. And yeah, that's the reality. I think that's one thing that I'll always stand by. It's just that we are the boxers. We're the ones that take all the risk for our health and we have to, you know, go away from our camps and all the stuff that everyone knows, but people don't really feel, you know. And at the end of the day, consistently, boxers get abandoned, you know. They get abandoned by promoters if they're not winning. They get abandoned by fans if they get knocked out. They get abandoned by clingers on. And the bottom line is, you know, we only get one chance. You know, that's one thing that boxers and anyone that loves boxers needs to understand. You only get one chance to be young. You know, as much as you love Sugar Ray Leonard, we love Mayweather, we love Pacquiao, they only had one chance to be the best that they could be. And once that was over, it's over. And now they're living their lives. We don't know what's going on. So, but the difference is a Bob Arum, a Eddie Hearn, a Frank Warren, these guys can go until, I think Arum's about 90 right now, and he's still there promoting fighters all the way from Muhammad Ali, you know, God rest his soul, to now. So they get to keep doing it. But as fighters, we have to maximize and be treated with respect, be treated fairly, and be understood and heard. Otherwise, we're just going to be treated like cattle the whole time. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that side. It's the ugly side, the side I don't really like to get too involved in. But ultimately, I don't think I could be the type of fighter that I want to be if I allow myself to get bullied outside of the ring and go in with a little chip on my shoulder about stuff that's gone on back that way. So I'd rather make sure everything's good. Make sure that when I go to bed, I can, whatever happens, I can sleep and say, win, lose, draw, make 100 million, make no money. Whatever happens, I made it on my own terms, and I can retire happy.
That's fair, man.
Brilliant stuff.
Before I let you clear off, there's obviously a big fight in your division coming up on the undercard of this Jake Paul Tommy Fury card, where we've got Maccabi taking on Badou Jack. How do you think that one goes?
I think Maccabi, I mean, I know Badou Jack, but I don't mind saying the truth. I just think that Maccabi will win that one based on the fact that he's a natural cruiserweight, where and he's a bit younger. So yeah, I think Maccabi will win that fight, and hopefully then, you know, to be honest, I know he won't. I've spoken to his management. I've spoken to none of these guys want to fight. It's so weird. It's just bizarre. But either way, anyway, it's not about me. About that fight, I think Maccabi should come away with a decision win, if not like a late stoppage.
Mate, and then he should be unifying. But we'll leave that for another day.